Chapter 31. Yeah. So. Chapter 32. The World of Keane by Walter Keane. 32 paintings and drawings. Signed to a Maxine from Walter Keane. Let's get on with it bullshit. Chapter 32. Don't like jacking up that spine at all, so that will bring Herzl out since he's going next. Herzl. Herzl bad, buddy. Herzl good. Chapter 32. Gillette, or is it Gillette? I was ahead of schedule and not expected back in London for a few days. I decided to find my artist friend Gonet. We have a chat and a drink, Domineering, aggressive, and sometimes violent, Gonet's personality changes worried me. I was one of a few persons with whom he still maintained regular communication. The local girls who worked as models or whores now refused to have anything to do with him, and as it was a slack time for selling paintings, Gonet was short of money. He had paid some of the girls only part of the fees he owed them for services rendered. Further, his quick temper in those days was feared by many of the women who had once worked willingly for him. What's up, bruv? When I could not locate Gonet at our favorite pub, I proceeded to his apartment. Little did I know then that the following incident had preceded my arrival. Earlier that same day, Gonet had called a modeling agency for a girl. A young and beautiful woman had arrived. The artist had ordered her to go into the bedroom and strip down. She had paused, asking, "Am I to model in the nude?" Gonet has mistakenly called a fashion modeling agency. He was unaware of his error and did not understand the woman's reluctance. Get your ass moving, strip down, or get out of here. Recalling that she would be evicted from her cheap hotel that very day without some cash for the rent, the lovely woman walked into the bedroom. She exchanged her clothing for a robe and returned to the studio. Gonet continued to give orders. "Stand over there in the light. Drop your robe. I want you in this position," he said, touching her frightened body. She tilted her face to avoid looking at him. 1 hour later, there was a knock at the door. Gonet opened the door, calling out, "My friend Keane, where in hell have you been? Months, or has it been years? Let's have a drink." I had brought a bottle, handing it to him. In a boisterously loud voice, Gonet said, "Walter, I've got a great model. Stay and paint with me and share the cost of the model." Directing his attention to the woman, he ordered, "Drop your robe. Let Keane see your beautiful body." I looked at the expressive, green-eyed, long-gaited girl. "Yes, Gonet, I like her." "I'll stay and paint with you." "How long have you had her?" She replied, 1 hour, giving me a smile of approval. "Ori, our third day of painting." Ori? Oh, that's on. Looks like because there's like a spot of jizz on there. Or on our third day of painting, her breast became alive with grace and beauty. I remembered that my first art instructor at the École des Beaux-Arts had observed that painters are like doctors. A body is an object, not a person. Damn that instructor. I handed her the robe and announced time for a break. I suggested we have a whiskey. The girl offered to run to the corner and get a bottle. I smiled and said wine will do. Every day Gonet had a bad hangover and an unclear head. It came out in his work. He was a mess. This big, once handsome man had slipped into personal oblivion and professional mediocrity. As our painting sessions ended, I said, "Thank you for including me in the sessions. She was an exceptionally good model." Gonet interrupted and blurted out to her, "That's the bedroom. Take a shower and hit the sack." I had, damn. I interjected. Gonet, the model, told us earlier that she had an appointment immediately after her 3 hour session with us. "Hell, I never heard her say that," he retorted. I replied calmly, "Perhaps it was when you were in the kitchen making drinks." Gonet retreated. "Okay, baby, another time." The model smiled with relief. The three of us left Gonet's studio together. I felt the need for some fresh air and invited the model and Gonet to join me for a drink or a coffee. The young woman refused politely and accepted her modeling fee from Gonet. He and I headed for our local pub. It was damned rowdy and noisy in the bar. We seated ourselves outside to get a good view of the street scene. There was a constant parade of people, some bizarre, others exotic, but always a changing scenario. After a couple of drinks, Gonet seemed in a bit of a daze, mumbling that when alone he sensed the objects around him, talking as people. I said, "Enough booze for one day. Let's take a walk in the park and shake it off." Refusing to go, he ordered another drink. With a brief farewell, I left him sitting in front of the pub. My old habit from childhood was kicking a stone or twig as I walked along. I had just entered the park when a voice called out, "Monsieur Keane, over here." There stood the model. I asked, "What are you doing here?" She responded, "My name is Gillet." "Is it Gillette? Gillet?" "I followed you and Gonet to the bar. From there I strolled into the park to wait for your departure. If you were walking home, I had planned on following you, Monsieur Keane. Please call me Walter." "Walter, thank you for coming to my rescue. When Gonet ordered me to shower and get in his bed, I was frightened of him. Gonet is a lonely, drunken artist. When he is sober, he is more sane. He is capable of much better paintings than he is turning out now. Gonet and I have spent many hours together, many times, sitting in cafes and wandering through parks and walking on the boulevards. One summer at Saint Tropez, we strolled the village and beaches every day. Basically, he is a good man. He needs a good woman in his life." She questioned, "What about a good woman in your life?" I could feel the smile in my face as I said, "I have just that." She asked, "Is she in Paris?" "No." "May I be your French lady when you're in Paris?" "Gillet, you can model for me when I am in Paris, and you don't have to be in the nude." "Oh, Walter, I will love modeling for you in the nude." "I'll primarily paint you as a child roaming around Paris in the alleys, on the church steps, along the Seine, and often on the streets of Montmartre. I'm no child. I'm 17 and will be 18 in 3 weeks. I want to be your model. You can paint me nude all the day and half the night. I would love it. I like the quietness. About you when you paint. Gillet, let's take a walk over to Saint Germain des Prés and have a coffee and talk about it. Now let me explain." "What's there to explain? Gonet wants me in his bed." When he said that, I thought if I were to be in anybody's bed, it would be yours, never his. Never is a long time. Think of him as a big kid in a man's body. If you were to live with Gonet, he would be good to you. He is a thoughtful, kind, generous man, and he needs a good woman. Don't be afraid of him. He is all bluff. No, never. He is obnoxious and unbearable. I couldn't tolerate his crude manners. Enough, Gillet. I get your message. "Walter, I need a place to live, a man to love, and food to eat. Modeling for a young amateur is difficult. Everyone wants me to go to bed. I refuse and get no work. Word is out that I'm a cold fish. Walter, with you, I could be a warm fish. Garçon, a bottle of wine, please. Gillet, you are a charming girl. I have a grown daughter your size. Her name is Susan, and she is a fine painter. She has a touch of Rembrandt and Velasquez in her. Her studio and home is on the seacoast in Carmel, California. So, what's so important in having a daughter my age and size? So, she is talented. So am I. I can play several instruments and sing. Gillet, it is more than that. In London, I have a young, beautiful wife named Joan Marie and a little baby girl, Chantal Marie, whom I love very much. I have a studio in my apartment in Montmartre where I stay when I'm in Paris. May I move in with you? Gillet, I am a happily married man and a father to a little jewel. If not for them, I'd love to have you with me. Please, I'll just be your French mistress. I won't make any problem. This guy, I mean, she's just begging him. For a young girl, you know all the right words. Under different circumstances, our relationship might have been different. However, I love my family, and that is where it rests. I only plan to be in Paris a few more days, then I have to return to London. When will you return to Paris? I'll know tomorrow when I'm waiting for the arrival of a boat in Marseille. Carrying my paintings, the exact date of my Paris exhibition will be set then, and I'll know the date of my return. Walter, I am alone in this world. My father died when I was 9 years old, and my mother was drowned falling off a boat in a storm just over a year ago. I was only 16 years old. That is when the decision to come to Paris came about. Come, I'll show you my studio at Montmartre. I will cook dinner for us. On our arrival, she exclaimed, I love this place. Wow, a king-size bed and a view of Paris. A lovely clean bathroom. Did you see that pig pen of a bathroom at Gonet's? I like where you paint. Shall I take off my clothes so you can paint me? Chalet, just take off your shoes and relax. I'll prepare dinner now. May I open a bottle of wine? Whatever you like. And what would you like, Walter? I'll have a whiskey on the rocks in one of those tall glasses. That's class, she said, laughing. Would you like to set the table, light the candles? Perhaps you can find a tape you like. Soon I heard a guitar and a woman's voice. I called out, Where did you find that tape? She again laughed. Walter, it's me. I play the guitar and sing. I also play the harp and the piano. We had an enjoyable evening. After dinner, Gillet said, Now I will model a couple hours for you. Beginning to remove her clothing. Please, Gillet, not tonight. Sit down. I want to have a serious talk with you, I said. Do I get a kiss first? She asked. I'll make a gentleman's agreement with you. And what may that be? She inquired. It's British. What one person says to another is a gentleman's agreement. It is an unsigned contract. We just shake hands and the agreement is made on trust and faith in each other. We pledge our honor to live up to the agreement and neither person falters. Wow, she replied. What do you have in mind? When you say you'll make a gentleman's agreement with me, basically it would be like this. You can share my studio apartment here in Montmartre with me. Yes, I'd like that. Wait, there are strings attached in our gentleman's agreement. Strings? Yes, strings. When I'm in Paris, I will sleep alone in my bedroom. You will sleep alone on the couch in my studio. You will model for me when I'm in Paris, and you will work at my exhibitions. When I'm gone, I will leave enough envelopes with money for you to cover each month's food, expenses, and a little extra for your pleasure. Do I understand you correctly? Do you mean I can live with you, but not share your bed with you? Yes, that is part of our gentleman's agreement. How dull. I never want to meet any of those people they call gentlemen. It's stupid. They can never be happy. You have it a bit mixed up, but you are getting the general idea now. If you agree, we shake hands on it. I reached for her hand, we shook. She exclaimed just like that. We now agree. No kissing, no sex, no sleeping together. How dull. You've seen me nude. May I see you nude? I have an idea. We can still take baths together, massage each other, eat together, but not make love with each other. That's the agreement. You got it. Walter, I thought Gonet was crazy, but this has to be the craziest agreement I've ever encountered. We set up some rules. Never bring anyone into Keane's studio. Money for 1 month ahead will always be in the cookie jar, to be spent for food or things either of the parties needs. Gillet may enroll in the Sorbonne and study music, painting, law, or medicine, or whatever she wishes. That's it? No, there's 2 more pages. Are you finished? She asked. I will study law and learn how to modify this crazy gentleman's agreement so I can be your lady at your exhibitions and model on the streets for you or in your studio and be your love in your bed. Here's a key for you. I have mine. You will live your life. I will live mine. In the kitchen, I have a blackboard. We will leave messages for each other of our coming and going. For instance, if I am going to London and cannot reach you, I will leave you a message on the blackboard. When I'm leaving, my expected return date, and how to reach me in case of an emergency. I explained to Gillette I would look upon her as I would my daughter, Susan, and share with her my thoughts, guidance, love, and respect. Our relationship would be platonic. She interrupted and asked, "Is that related to atomic? 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 Not that I know of. We will look it up and get a French translation. I want you to think of me as a father or a friend." Walter, you are a very talented artist. The emotion and color you portray in your paintings, the way you capture me on your canvas, captivate me. My dream and hope is one day you will spread some of the emotion on my lips and body directly, and not always on a damn canvas. I want you to touch me. We must start someplace. Please kiss me. All right, my dear sweet Gillet, we will modify our gentleman's agreement. When you or I enter my studio, a hello kiss, and one of us leaves, a goodbye kiss. You told me you always gave your daughter a goodnight kiss when you tuck her in. All right, sweet one, we will extend our agreement to one goodnight kiss. This friendly, no sex relationship continued for many years. From the beginning, I sensed we would get along. Gillet settled in and studied law. She modeled for me and worked on my exhibitions wherever they were. I arranged them so as not to interfere with her studios. She is now working with a major corporation in the legal department. I recall her comment to me, every agreement they negotiate is typed and signed by the interested parties. None of that handshake gentleman's agreement business. I whispered in her ear, I'm proud of you. It worked. Remember, from day one, I mentioned you were like my daughter Susan, a natural winner. The cream always comes to the top. I returned to London. 19 days later, the ship carrying my 33 paintings was scheduled to arrive at Port de Marseille. One needs to wait about 3 days in order to get clearance to pick up one shipment. On the 18th day, I again left my family to return to Paris. I had planned to claim my paintings and take them to the framer and onto the gallery. I telephoned Marie Noël Buhol. Buhol? Buhol. My friend employed by the French steamship company to process the necessary papers to claim my shipment. "Oh, Walter," Marie exclaimed, "I've tried everywhere to reach you. Please meet me at our regular cafe for lunch." I arrived early and ordered a bottle of Montrachet wine. I was having my first sip when Marie arrived at my table. I jumped up and kissed her gently on each cheek. I then served her a glass of wine. "A toast," I said, "to a dear friend and a beautiful lady." Marie looked so sad. Clutching her glass of wine, she spoke, "It's like a toast to death." "Mon chéri, someone close to you?" I inquired with great concern. "No," Marie said, with tears filling her eyes. The boat sank. The following day I returned to London. The 22 oil paintings I had done in Martinique, right, plus the 11 oils from my California studio, had been lost at sea. Remembering that Barbara and I had escaped death by postponing our departure from the Dominican Republic, as the plane we were scheduled to take crashed and all the passengers were killed. Then my brush with death in Puerto Rico. I thought this was somehow an omen. The Caribbean was not my cup of tea. This story sounds like some butter churning bullshit. Chapter 33. Our fun time in Albufeira. Joan had just fed Chantal and was rocking her to sleep when I entered the room. I whispered gently to her that I had a surprise and asked her to join me in the living room when she had put Chantal in her crib. Shortly, Joan appeared in the doorway, announcing that the baby was all tucked in for the night. Joan sat down beside me, and I and I handed her an envelope. As she was opening it, I explained, "Surprise! In 3 days, we fly to Albufeira, Portugal. I've rented a lovely beachfront flat for 6 months. After the winter we've had, the Portuguese sun will do us all good." Reading the letter that confirmed our reservation in Albufeira, Joan exclaimed, "Oh, Walter, all of this for $300 a month? 3 bedrooms? Excuse me, dear, 2 bedrooms." The hell was that? Oh, I think that's the bottle in there. Hope it is. 3 bedrooms? Excuse me, dear. 2 bedrooms in your studio. 2 bathrooms. Our clothing will be laundered, and a babysitter to be provided for Chantel. Free fish once or twice a week. It's just too good to be true, Walter. Indeed, it was almost too wonderful. Upon arriving in Albufeira, we found a quaint village. Joan was enchanted with the tiny vegetable stands wrapped around the picturesque town square. She waited anxiously for the arrival of the boats at the pier with their fresh catch of fish. I soon located 2 British pubs carrying my favorite scotch. There was jazz dancing in the evenings. This lovely playground, quiet and refreshing, was undiscovered by the European mobs that descend into the Riviera and the Costa del Sol. Surprisingly, the little village also had a well-equipped art supply store. When my brush was not in hand, I was unfolding Joan in my arms. To the depth of my heart, I knew that I was truly in love and completely loved in return. Often, when I was painting, I would go to get a cool drink. I would also offer one to Joan while she was lying on the deck, wrapped only in the sun. She was such a beauty. Handing her a cold lemonade, I spoke quietly. "You are like no one else in the world. A dream come true. You are as assembled to please as a bee is created to make honey." "Oh, I'd like to make honey," she cooed, extending her arms to me. I kissed every inch of her body. Joan intertwined her limbs around me, whispering, "I'm proud to be your woman. I want you to be proud of me when I'm with you. When I'm with you, everything seems right." Never once did Joan complain. We were very close. This was the first time in my life that I felt settled down to a daily domesticity. I recalled our first night together. She came gracefully and calmly to our bed, responding openly and sincerely. On this and every other occasion, she brought an intense excitement to my mind. I was entranced and entrapped. During the days, we would have sessions at the beach. When not at the beach or in a British pub, I was painting. In spite of my matrimonial bliss, I was experiencing another period of severe pain across my back and shoulder. I found it increasingly difficult to move my right arm. I was anxious to return to England, where I could consult a doctor about my deteriorating condition. Never once did I mention to Joan that I was often in excruciating pain. My medicine continued to be booze, pain, and sleeping pills, all in greater amounts. Back in London, brown and beautiful from our Portuguese holiday, the three of us moved into a townhouse in Belgravia. I had a studio. Joan had a dark room that also served as her sewing room and housed her new Bernina sewing machine. She could move a finger and have her choice of 17 different stitches. Joan thoroughly enjoyed making Chantel's dresses and occasionally a blouse for herself. Another cold, rainy winter descended on Europe. I hopped back and forth to Paris to paint and work with my art dealer, where often in my studio I painted for hours late into the night. There were many times the fumes from the paint and turpentine made me dizzy. My breathing was difficult at times. Even the drink on my paint stand, be it coffee, whiskey, or coffee, tasted like the fumes surrounding me. The pain in my shoulder, right arm, and back intensified along with nausea and throbbing headache. I wondered if I was decaying with a crippling illness. I asked the doctor in London if I was allergic to the tools of my trade. He laughed, saying, Walter, we are all allergic to our work. Following the doctor's advice, I increased my dosage of pain pills. Unknown to him, I also added to my daily intake of scotch. Only after this potentially lethal combination did I have any relief. I was completing very few paintings. Soon it was spring. We flew to Germany and picked up a new car. We drove down to Geneva to visit a Swedish uncle of mine who was living on the French side of the lake. Following several happy days of delicious Swedish cooking and lovely French luncheons on the lake, we headed for one of my two favorite places in Europe, Annecy, France, a quaint and beautiful spot. As we were arriving, Joan shouted, I love it. The lake, the mountains, the canals, the village built by the Romans 500 years ago. It stands as solid as when they laid the first stone. Amazed at Joan's recall of the place, I asked, Have you been reading my book on Annecy, darling? She replied, You remember that we did pass through here one weekend a few years ago, Walter. But after hearing you rave so much about Annecy since then, I had to bone up on it. I wanted to surprise you. I, too, love Annecy. Thanks to the Romans for this unique opportunity to view their craftsmanship. Even today, the Italians are supreme. The highways of Italy are so far advanced that the rest of the world will never catch up. The Italians built a road through hundreds of mountains, across tall bridges from one end of Italy to the other. It is constructed to last, not to be repaired after each storm. Continuing our journey into Italy, we drove to Genoa, where we boarded a Swedish boat with our car to sail for Malaga, Spain. We were at sea for 2 days and a night. I love traveling with my Swedish brothers. They are full of laughter and fun. Once in Spain, we drove to Marbella to rent the same lovely apartment where I had stayed many times before. We had a magnificent view of the azure Mediterranean Sea lined by the white sands of the beach below. While I painted, Joan and Chantel would go shopping or lie on the sun deck. Every day, we three would take a short walk along the beach. Being a proud daddy, I carried my camera with me to take photographs of Chantel as she played in the water and in the sand. Each night, I had the 2 or 3 rolls of black and white film developed and printed. Passersby would often ask for a photo of Chantel, and she was delighted to give them one her daddy had taken. As the glorious summer ended and the leaves of fall began to change color, we returned to our flat in London. My first port of call in England was the doctor. His remedy for my condition was the same as before, more pain and sleeping pills. One November morning, Joan asked what my plans for the day were. I replied, Nothing. I can't change for a lovely lady. She seemed to be anxious about a previously arranged appointment. I thought she might be going to a hairdresser, although she always did her own hair. I promised to take good care of Chantel in her absence. We planned to meet at Tom Benson's restaurant for lunch sometime after 1 o'clock. She's probably pregnant again. About 2 o'clock, Chantel and I were waiting at Tom Benson's when Joan arrived, bubbling over with excitement. I said, You look like you just won first prize at the Grand Prix. Oh, it's much better than that, she replied. We are going to have a baby. Oh, Joan, you're pregnant again? Wonderful. Let's have a boy. Laughing, Joan nearly shouted, One coming up. Tom Benson had overheard our animated conversation and exclaimed, 1 bottle of champagne on the house. Another Keane is on the way. is this chapter? We're at 30 minutes, so I will go one more chapter, I suppose. Chapter 34, we have a son, Sasha Michael. Sasha Michael Keane was born in London, England on the 11th day of June, 1973 at 9:43 a.m., a young British gentleman. I was one proud daddy. I telephoned John May, 6,000 miles away, to report, "We have a son." Chantel shaking my arm, "Daddy, why did you tell Uncle John we have a son?" Lifting Chantel into my arms laughingly, I said, "My precious little girl, John had 5 daughters and I 2. It was all in fun. Yes, I'm Sasha's daddy, and John is one of our dearest friends." He was happy to hear we had a boy. Sasha's birth followed what might have been a difficult delivery had not our fine doctor called in a highly respected specialist to perform a cesarean section on Joan. I also summoned a noted plastic surgeon to eliminate any unsightly scars from Joan's body. Following the cesarean ordeal, I explained to the proud mother the origin of the word cesarean. I told her that it comes from the belief that Julius Caesar was delivered by a C-section operation. Hearing this, Joan responded, "That explanation is the only thing I like about it." The next 4 years were consumed with and by our children. Chantel went through 2 years of nursery school and was admitted to a fine English school. Rip the page, don't do it. She was a student of ballet, music, and art. Sasha followed Chantel's course by attending nursery school in painting, music, and pursuing music and art. He put his foot down on the ballet lessons, however. "No ballet for me, Daddy. They are all girls." Sasha spent many hours a day playing chess. He would challenge all passers-by. Both children became great swimmers. On his first day of school, Sasha tried out for the school swimming team and was accepted. Whether underwater swimming, bike riding, roller skating, or playing chess, he took unnecessary and frequently dangerous risks to keep up with his sister. I talked with him often about his obsession of competing with Chantel. I stressed that she was older and that he must not worry so much about excelling or winning. "The real joy of the game is the companionship," I emphasized. "One must always try hard, but he must lose and win equally well." Then our lives in England were interrupted by a rare business opportunity which necessitated a temporary move to California. Many years before, I had discovered a unique European-type village by the sea named La Jolla. It had been located near San Francisco, where my work was scheduled. Since I had first found La Jolla, however, it had been moved 500 miles south near the Mexican border. Although my assignment was in San Francisco, we flew into Los Angeles to rediscover La Jolla. La Jolla. Our plane was met by Max Schaffner, a friend from childhood who drove us 100 miles south to beautiful La Jolla. Arriving there about midnight, I settled Joan and the children in Paul Ellison's elegant Ellison Court Hotel, later converted to the La Jolla Hotel. My family was understandably tired after a 6,000-mile plane trip, an hour in immigration and customs, and another 2 hours on Interstate 5. Joan and the children were quickly off to sleep. Max and I hit the road and installed ourselves at the only bar open at that hour. It was called Jose's and boasted a female bartender named Katie. She fed us and kept the drinks flowing until the 2 o'clock closing time. The following day, we moved into a beautifully furnished 3-bedroom home with daily maid service. Our house was located near the beach, and soon the children and Joan were settled into a daily routine of 2 trips to the ocean. Once again, they were tanning a luscious brown color. As in Europe, I took many snapshots of the family at the beach. Also, I shot pictures of the children riding an elephant at the zoo or diving off the headboard at La Costa. A sign at the pool read, "No one under 14 on the high board." Chantel was 9 years old. Sasha was 7. My business venture in California was to have taken weeks. The time drifted into months. More and more of each day was spent in the whaling bar of the La Valencia Hotel. The proprietors carried my favorite painkiller, Chivas Regal, Chivas Regal. I passed many days and nighttime hours at the bar sitting on the corner stool where I could comfortably rest my aching arm and shoulder. I became increasingly aware that the many years of taking pain and sleeping pills had thrown my mind and body into a tizzy. Of my own volition, I decided to stop using the pills and to rely on the scotch. If I drank enough of it, I would be able to tolerate the pain. I had Chivas Regal delivered by the case to my home. Soon I found my right hand more on the long stem glass than on the brush. My life had been spent only in a world of springtime, and now fall was approaching. Feeling guilty and conscience stricken, I was unable to confide in Joan the details of my malady or the limitations that had imposed upon me. Soon there was nothing in me that she could live with. We stopped feeling pleasure and found only pain. Often, when Joan and I talked, her eyes shone through the tears. My whiskey had numbed me. I believed that nothing could ever come between us. Holding her in my arms one evening, I said, "What I need is an understanding heart." Joan replied, "You have one. Her name is Chivas Regal." And I might add that she is a very expensive lady. This comment is as close as she ever came to criticizing me. In our relationship, Joan never used strong or offensive language. Financial problems had begun to surface. My mismanaged wealth, carelessly squandered, was almost totally gone. The depletion of my money matched the disintegration of my body and my emotional well being. I sometimes felt on my way to death itself. One night, an universal mutual acquaintance from Europe visited us. Visited us. He made a pass at Joan, and she seemed to enjoy it. I attacked him fiercely with words, calling him a dirty double agent, a disloyal father and husband. The scene awakened my children. Chantel rushed to me, throwing her arms around me to give me comfort as I lay down in bed. I was drunk and frightened. Through the boozing haze came Chantel's words, "Daddy, I love you. I love you, Daddy." She lay beside me until I fell asleep. Joan packed all night. When I awoke the next morning, the movers were there. Joan and children left for Montreal. I had vigorously auditioned during 5 years of courtship, so this would never happen. Then, after 10 years of marriage, Joan left without a backward glance. The 15 years of love and laughter had come to an end. I wondered how or if I could survive without my family. It would be a difficult adjustment. At that point, the emotional pain was far greater than any physical discomfort I had ever known. It actually says. It was like a darkness had fallen on my life. It made me wonder if artists and idiots are one. The reluctance of the sun to shine, the cold nip in the ocean breeze, the sound of the waves and the patter of the falling leaves drifted into winter. Christmas found me alone, totally alone. My new life was carelessly orchestrated. Each morning I would have my English muffin with honey and coffee. Then I would write a letter to my children and walk to the post office. Circling back at 11:45 a.m., I'd find my corner seat at the whaling bar. There I stayed until about 4 p.m. when I would stagger down the hill to my cottage, take a nap, have a cup of tea, take a shower, and return to the bar. I remained on my corner seat until closing. Occasionally, I would walk to the Botsford bar and listen to the music of a young guitarist. Often, I found myself singing sadly. This next section is pretty long. Definitely stopping here. This next section is like 12 pages. Holy shit, what's this? Or this next chapter is long as fuck. Damn. All right. Definitely stopping then. That's all, bruv.